This is Yvonne. In this episode of Strong and Courageous, I'll be featuring Lorna Farrar, a woman who is the epitome of optimism. Now hear from Lorna how, despite the struggles and trials, why she remains optimistic.
My name is Lorna Farrar, and I am very optimistic. Well, life has really thrown a lot of things at me, and because of that, what may seem as a big deal to most people isn't to me, and I'm always looking for a positive way to look at things or even resolve things. I'm not about who's right or wrong. I'm always about making things right and just always looking at the glass half full. That came from me being able to fully realize my potential and who I really was, and that my past did not define me, that regardless of my sad upbringing or all the problematic issues that came about from my childhood, and even as I went into adulthood, that I still had control over my perspective of life. But when I was growing up, my father, the way I grew up, my father was an alcoholic, and there was a lot of abuse in that regard, domestic violence. I was exposed to drugs early on, not that I ever used it myself, thank God, but it was more of my dad used to also sell. So I was just exposed to a lot of different environments growing up, and I had to grow up rather quickly. As I became a teenager, because of all the things that I saw, and I just saw that life was normal that way, that abuse, alcoholism, drugs, this, at least you have a roof over your head and something to eat was all there was to life. And as a teenager, trying to find myself was very hard because I didn't have that strong type of role model. And believe it or not, I looked for, of course, when a man it came up to me, and a teenage boy also was there, and he was the cutest boy in the whole school, and he was paying attention to me, and it was just mind-boggling. I did anything I could to keep him, and just to be with him, and he actually was even more abusive than what my dad was, and unfortunately, the verbal abuse turned into then sexual. And when I told my mom that I was pregnant, I really didn't know what was going on with my body. We didn't talk about those things. It turned out to be that my mom said, well, he's your boyfriend. You're going to have to go live with him. And it just got worse. And I almost lost my daughter many times just from of course, the beatings now were normal daily part of my life, and sexual abuse was also part of my life. I was completely secluded for 8 months, but long story short, I was able to get out of that. I literally ran out of the house after I had my daughter, and because I just looked to TV and saw that in TV there was something better. I saw people that were happy, and I saw families that were able to share a meal, and saw all these different things, and I wanted that so bad. And looking at my daughter, I wanted that so bad for her. She saved me. There's nothing that God doesn't allow for you to happen to you that does not always come out to work for your good, as he says in his word. And my daughter saved me. She really saved me. I don't know what kind of path I would have gone in had I not looked to her, because she gave me purpose. Now I wanted for her to have a beautiful life. And so I've worked so hard ever since then to be able to provide for my family, to excel, to go to school, to be able to do things and do the best that I can, whether I was working as delivery, unloading truck deliveries, and now that I work with revenue and I've done presentations, sometimes I look around the room and I'm surrounded by, commissioners or managers or directors, and I'm just so honored to be in the presence, because that's not what my past dictated I would be, nor was it something that my father ever said I would amount to do or be, nevertheless, because it was always bad things that were told to me. But then I realized also as I grew up was that my parents did the best they could. My father's father was an alcoholic, and my mother's father was an alcoholic, and that's what she grew up, so she thought that I was okay, and that's how he grew up, so that he thought I was okay. And realizing all of that, it was so easy for me to be able to just let go and forgive and just try to do the best I possibly could for my family, and it's just taking me where I am today. And, of course, by God's grace, now I'm here today. For me to be able to heal was being able to realize it was okay. I had to tell myself, it's okay. You're in this now, but you're not going to be in here forever. And you're going to make it. That was the main thing that I had to tell myself, that it just because I was in it now did not mean that I was going to be that way tomorrow. And then after I took that little step in my head where my mindset had changed, then it was like, how am I going to do that? And then it was, okay, then it broke down and I made myself accountable how I was going to get all these things done. And one of the things that I was able to do to even heal, first get out of the situation was, like I said, I literally removed myself from it. And it does take that moment where you say, I've had enough. And when you've had enough, you've had enough. And then to remember never that you don't want to go to that dark place. God allows for that pain to happen, so you don't want to go back. And for you to be able to realize that there is something good. And once I was able to extract myself from that, for me to heal, I had to tell myself, yep, this happened, but it doesn't define me. It's going to make me stronger. This is never going to happen to me again, and it's definitely not going to happen to my children or my children's children. And praying over the generational curse to be lifted off of my family as well. That was something so big for me, and that I do on at least a monthly basis, just trying to make sure that I cover my family, because I know it's a generational curse as well. If a woman feels that she's stuck, that she doesn't have a way out, that there is no way that she can make it without this man because of money issues or because of the children or for whatever reason, you don't have to be stuck. Allow yourself time to know and just contemplate the fact that it's okay. You're not the only one. This happens too often, unfortunately. And your past does not define you. And just because you're going through or you've gone through it does not mean that you don't deserve better. We are women of God, and we are a king's kid, and a man should treat us that way, no less, no less. And if you're thinking about it because of your children deserve a good role model. Your children deserve to have a happy mother. And that is one of the biggest things that the biggest gift you can possibly give your child is that if you're okay, they're going to be okay. Don't ever think that you're doing them a favor, because my mom thought she was. And it actually hurt me even more than anything. And sometimes your relationship can become, if the child is not able to forgive you, it becomes so hard to build that bridge again, because they somehow blame you for not protecting them from that abusive father. Even if it's just verbal, it's still abuse. Abuse is abuse no matter what way it is. Seek help. Look to friends, someone you trust, anyone who would listen. And when you're ready to talk, because it is hard to talk about and admit that, hey, this is happening to me. But when you are ready and you're able to talk, know that that is the first step and the first way that you're going to be able to actually walk through the door and start a new life. I just want everyone to really know how truly wonderful, graceful, and merciful God is, and what peace you can truly, truly find in Him. That even if you're in the situation now, or you're going through, or you're coming out of it, find peace in Him. He is there. He will always be there. But you've got to confess, come to Him, and seek Him, and seek His face, and just know that it's going to be okay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Strong and Courageous. I'm your host, Yvonne Sims. To hear more stories of strength and courage, visit my website at YvonneSims.com or my Facebook page at Yvonne Sims. Until next time, beloved, be strong and courageous.